Hello everyone and welcome back to the final of the Noobs for the Noobs God Tournament. I'm so excited. Today we have Small Gang leading the Vampire Counts going off against Wizard King leading the Dwarves. And as I said, this is the final battle for the Noobs for the Noob God Tournament. So the one that wins this is going to get the title King of the Noobs. That's pretty exciting if you ask me. So let's start off with the army compositions as usual. First up we have Small Gang leading the Vampire Counts, as I mentioned before. Leading his army is Manfred von Karstein, a Necromancer, and the wonderful Krell. For his infantry he's bringing a whole host of units, including 2 units of the Tithe, 2 units of Skeleton Warriors, 1 unit of Crypt Ghouls, 2 units of Cairn Wraiths, and 2 units of Grave Guard with great weapons. For his cavalry he's bringing 2 units of Hex Wraiths, and for his monsters he's bringing the Dire Pack, Dire Wolves, some Crypt Horrors, some Vargeists, and a Vargulf. For Wizard King leading the Dwarves, his army is being led by Thorgrim Grudgebearer, a Runesmith, and a Master Engineer. For his frontline, he's bringing just 4 units of Ironbreakers. For his ranged infantry, he's bringing 2 units of Quarrelers with great weapons, 1 unit of Iron Drakes, 2 units of Thunderers, and 1 unit of Iron Drakes with Trollhammer Torpedoes. For his machinery, he's bringing a Gyrocopter with a Brimstone gun, an Organ gun, and a Flame Cannon. I'm incredibly excited to see how this one pans out. These are 2 of my favourite factions in the whole game, so let's get into it. Here we are, our final map, which is the Blue Reach River multiplayer map. Starting off with the deployment, we can see that the Vampire Counts have deployed in a fairly standard formation of just all their infantry at the front, the monsters at the back, and the Lords just scattered around. On the right side in these trees we can see the Hex Wraiths, which are hidden, so I'm sure they'll be doing something very exciting as this battle progresses. Moving over to the Dwarf side of things now, we can see he's deployed in a pretty standard defensive formation with his artillery in the middle, being flanked by all of his ranged units, with the melee infantry up the front, and all his heroes and lords scattered around, with only the Brimstone Copter out in the open. All of these units over here are hidden, so the Vampire Counts have to go to hunt them down and take them out. As you can see, the Brimstone guns are moving in, and they're going to be targeted by Manfred von Karstein, who has actually stopped moving and is opting for a breath ability on those. I'm not sure if that was the best play. I would have personally just sent him in to attack him because he's faster and does way more damage in melee combat than those guys do. So that is a little bit of a misplay there if you ask me. Oh, I didn't even notice that the direwolves are all the way back here, so that's very interesting. I can't wait to see what he does with those hidden units. I always love a hidden unit strike. It's always very exciting to see. So as you can see, the Vampire Counts are just kind of taking their time moving up. Yeah, they're moving fast, but they're not really in too much of a rush either. Now I can see that some spells are being used on the Gyrocopters. I'm not sure what spell that was exactly. Oh, it was, I can't remember, I think it's like Dance Macabre, something like that. The missile spell from the Lord of the Vampires. I'm sorry guys, I don't know all the spells off the top of my head. But it looks like the Gyrocopter Brimstone guns are moving in for a bombing run. It looks like they're going to go for the Cairn Wraiths or possibly the Grave Guard. I can't quite tell yet. He's just kind of hovering them above, shooting at Manfred with that bonus versus large, which I'm honestly not too worried about that. He should really be dropping the bombs to get the most value out of them right now, but he's not. I would personally move in all of my flying units just to take this guy out as soon as I can, because all of the other units kind of just sat in the trees over there, so it's just like shooting fish in a barrel, really. What speed are they? 105. These guys are 114, so yes, the Vargeists should eventually catch up to them, and they should have no problem taking them out whatsoever. These guys suck in melee combat. They have decent range, and their bombs are extremely useful, but as far as melee combat goes, absolutely useless. Now, the Gyrocopters have actually kited these guys into the range of the artillery, which is also over here, so you could see that the Vargeists took a couple of hits from the Organ guns, but the Brimstone guns are now starting to take a lot of hits. The Vargeists outnumber them pretty much 4-1, so in these engagements, the Vargeists are absolutely going to slaughter them, and we can see the leadership is breaking. They've taken so much damage. Not one unit is fallen yet, but oh, there we go, the first one's fallen. And if he keeps on with them, then they are not going to last long whatsoever. And to be honest, I would just keep him on top of them like that. So they're running away, and you want to make sure they don't come back. And the Vargeists, let's be honest, against the Dwarves, aren't going to be able to get much else done. Now we can see that some of the Vampire units are now getting into range of the Flame Cannon. That right there is one of my favourite units in the whole game. It is spectacular to see in action. Look at that. The Tithe, 200 bodies in that unit. And over about 27 of them were just wiped out in a single volley. That thing is so damn good. I mean, personally, I won't be aiming at zombies. I'd probably be aiming at, you know, these Cairn Wraiths or maybe the Crypt Ghouls at the back. But look at that thing. It's so beautiful to see it in action. Oh my god. In just 3 volleys, he has taken out 70 units of the Tithe. They are so incredible. Now, the Vargeists have completely taken those guys out. They're shattered. They're not coming back. So he needs to think about maybe pulling them into a different position. Seeing if he can... There we go. He's pulling them into these trees just to keep them away from the battle, I imagine. Pull them back a little bit later when the enemy is more preoccupied by other things. Now I can see that the Vampire Counts are getting into range of pretty much everything that the Dwarves have to offer. This is going to be a very tough fight. Ooh, we saw a little bit of spell action coming from the Dwarves there, or a rune action, I should probably say. Very exciting to see, as always. Now, the Iron Drakes are getting into, well, the zombies are getting into the Iron Drakes range, I should say, and they are using their satchel charges. Again, I'm not sure I'd bother using them for that. I know they tend to fire at will, but it's not too worth it. We did see a Breath ability come out from Manfred von Carstein onto Thorgrim Grudgebearer there, but from the looks of things, it didn't get too many hits because it's going through all these trees. I'm just gonna tick that hide foliage on, and oh wow, a massive shot from the Iron Drakes there. That is the Tithe getting absolutely obliterated. The Cairn Wraiths didn't feel it too much because of course they have that massive physical resist, and that is not magical damage. But oh boy, the Tithe are really starting to feel the pain now. So we can see here that we have several engagements. Just going to slow this down because so bloody much is happening. Oh my god, the Hex Wraiths coming around there look like they're going to charge into the sides of these Thunderers over here. Now the Dire Pack and the Vargeist are still yet to making a second appearance for the Vargeist in this battle, but we can see here that on the right flank the Iron Drakes have been engaged. They haven't used all their ammo yet, and they've been engaged by Skeleton Warriors and of course the Cairn Wraiths, which are going to be the real trouble here with no magical damage to speak of. Manfred von Carstein dropped directly on top of Thorgrim Grudgebearer. I'm not sure how good that is going to work because the Thunderers are right back here. They can focus a lot of fire on him, and of course Thorgrim Grudgebearer, he's a pretty good fighter as well, so it's going to be a tough battle for him indeed for Manfred, and he wants to make sure that he doesn't get taken out too quickly because the Vampire Lords are so key to their armies. Now he's been debuffed by a couple of spells from the Runesmith as well, which is exactly the reason why you should bring a Runesmith. Playing the Dwarves is a very brave choice in this tournament because we judge you on magic, but when you bring a Runesmith for the Dwarves, it just shows you know exactly what you are doing. Just speed this up to normal speed. Look at that charge from these Hex Wraiths into the side. That is a unit of Thunderers and a unit of Quarrelers Great Weapons taken in a single charge. Yes, they're not gone just yet, but they have no magical damage. The Hex Wraiths will absolutely obliterate them with massive armor-piercing damage. The charge bonus isn't that amazing, but the sustained damage certainly is. Well, we can see a Wind of Death going down there. It looked like he was trying to hit all these Thunderers and Iron Drakes, and it looks like, not Iron Drakes, the Iron Breakers, and it looks like he did an excellent job there. These guys are severely injured. It looks like, unfortunately, the Cairn Wraiths are also injured, so it was a very costly spell indeed, which did a lot of work for him. Now, the Trollhammer torpedoes are not firing in the middle there. I need to slow this down, there's too much going on. This is incredible. The Trollhammer torpedoes are not firing, they're being engaged by Manfred and the Vargulf. That is excellent. Stop those guys firing because they can destroy anything that is large. We see here on the other side, I didn't even notice this, that the Dire Pack have actually managed to charge in and take down these Thunderers from firing. That is excellent. They are losing against them, but because it's Direwolves, they're not going to do too amazing, so he might need to bring in some support. But looking at the front lines here, it looks like he's going to have plenty of options. Now the Vargeist have come in from the back and are attacking this final unit of Quarrelers with great weapons. It also looks like they're trying to shut down the Flame Cannon and the Orb Gun as well, since they're sort of in this circle over here. The Iron Drakes are continuing to fire, have racked up 23 kills so far, and they will certainly get more before this battle is done. In the middle engagement here, it's just a straight-up melee infantry battle. We have Skeleton Warriors and Cairn Wraiths going against Ironbreakers on the left. In the middle, we've got Ironbreakers going against Graveguard with great weapons and Crypt Horrors. That is an excellent combination. I love that so much. At the back here, we have Krell just waiting to be used. Melee Specialist. I want to see him in this battle. Please get him in there. We have Necromancer, who is just using abilities after abilities to get more magic and just cast spells continuously throughout this entire battle. This is turned out to be an incredible fight. Oh my god, Manfred died. I wasn't even looking. That happened so quickly. So Manfred has been taken out. That is a massive hit to the Vampire Count. It severely cripples their leadership and their ability to survive when their lord perishes, but hopefully they might be able to hold on just a little bit longer because they were looking so strong right now. Luckily, they still have the Necromancer, which can provide some encouragement. He just needs to move them a little bit further up and provide them with plenty of buffs from his spells. Now we can see here that in the back line, there is a mass rout happening from the Dwarf ranged infantry. 2 units of Crawlers with great weapons are now being engaged. The Thunderers have shattered. They are never coming back, and now the Cairn Wraiths, the Hex Wraiths are starting to charge into the backs of these melee lines, and 1 unit of Ironbreakers is broken, and another one looks like it's going to follow quite quickly with the Vargulf attacking them at the same time, as well as the Graveguard with great weapons. I don't have time to breathe. This is incredible. On the left flank here, as I predicted, the Dire Pack are having some trouble against the Thunderers, but they have managed to make them terrified. I believe that was probably either the Vargeist or the Hex Wraiths that have done that, but the Direwolves are going to chase them and get as many hits in as they can before they come to dust, because the Direwolves, they aren't the best in high-tier situations like this. The left flank here is not going too bad for the Vampire Counts. They've got 2 units at half health, and you know, the Dwarves have got like 1 unit that's at fairly medium high health, so it's about even tie there, as well as in the middle here. It looks like the Dwarves kind of have the advantage at this point. A lot of the infantry on the right hand side here is kind of starting to break. We've only got some very weak units of Cairn Wraiths and Skeleton Warriors. They need to finish these units out and help on the left flank over here. Thorgrim Grudgebearer is still sitting at an incredible 5,192 health. He's got his Runesmith right there giving him tons of buffs, while Krell is trying to engage him and take him out with the support of this Vargulf and the Graveguard with great weapons. On the back lines here, we can see that the die pack are now chasing down those surrenders that they've managed to break while they were terrified. That was an excellent play there. Just keep them on them if they are terrified. Run them down. It's just getting free value. Now we can see that the majority, if not, I believe that is every single unit of the dwarf ranged warriors are completely taken out. You know, the Hexrace have done so much work. Absolutely the MVP of this match. The MVP of my heart. That is absolutely for sure. It looks like the Vampire Count's warriors are actually starting to rally. The Vargulf getting a massive boost in leadership there. It's fighting against two heroes though. So I'm not exactly sure how well that's going to go. We're just going to have to wait and see. Now, we've seen a little bit of explosives coming in. I believe that's the Eindrakers from over here. It must be. There can't be anything else that's firing. So we might need to redirect some Skeleton Warriors or the Cairn Wraiths to get in there and stop that from happening anymore. Ooh, just misclicked. Oh my god, this is so intense. On the left flank over here, we can see the die pack has come back, but they called it too early. There's a bunch of range units that are now coming back. He's going to pay dearly for that. Those range units can get so much more value. Look at all the ammo they have. He really should have focused on taking them out with the die pack. That is what they are good at. I mean, it's all well and good taking out these Ironbreakers, but take out the ranged units. You have no range as a Vampire Coast. You need to stop them. It looks like the Hexraves are just kind of fighting the Iron Drakes, but they're still managing to fight, which is miraculous. They're getting so much value. They are such a good unit, especially against Undead with that fire damage. Now we can see that the Runesmith has actually broken, and Thorgrim Grudgebearer is starting to get surrounded, and it's not looking too great for him. Krell is being buffed by this Necromancer over here, just by being there, and also with the active spells and abilities, and Thorgrim's health is steadily starting to decline against all this pressure. Unfortunately, on the flank here, the Iron Drakes, which are at just 1,000 health, have just defeated some Skeleton Warriors. I mean, obviously they are going to do that, so he's going to need to take those out because they have a little bit of ammo left, and of course, plenty to fight. Those Dwarves, they will never give up. They will get so many kills. Oh, and look at that, they managed to get the throw off before their Cairn Wraiths could get in there. That is so much damage on those Graveguard as well as Krell, but fortunately, as well as Thorgrim a little bit. Now on the left hand side here, as I said, not killing those range units has really not paid off, because a load of them, oh never mind, the Vargeist have come over here and they have actually managed to break them, but he did lose his units of the Direwolves, and he's probably going to lose these Vargeist if he's not too careful. But over here on the left flank, it's just completely outnumbered. You know, the Iron Drakes, the Ironbreakers have not broken. There's 2 units of them versus 1 unit of Hexwraiths. That is not a good combination. These guys are insanely tough. Hexwraiths are really good, but outnumbered against 2 units of Ironbreakers, that is definitely not good, especially with a Master Engineer right nearby and Iron Drakes to support. The Trollhammer Torpedoes finally breaking with 171 health. There is no chance that they are coming back, and if they do, they're going to disappear just as quickly. That being said, the Ironbreakers over here just getting their last few satchel charge shots going into the middle of this clump. I really cannot tell you which way this one's going to go. I mean, the Dwarves seem to have a lot of units left, like lots of bodies on the field. If we have a look, actually, yeah, they have more numbers on the field, but the units that the Vampire Coast have, Vampire Counts have left, just seem much more elite. You know, we have Krell here, who still has a lot of his regeneration pool to get through. So if the Necromancer, you know, wants to keep in the battle, he certainly has the means to do that with a bunch of spells, especially with the Forbidden Rod, which just increases the amount of magic he can bring over and over and over again. That being said, the Runesmith is in range and he's giving damage resistance and armor to all the units in this circle, which basically means they're going to be near unkillable for the Vampire Coast. We can see the balance of power slowly turning to the Dwarves' favour from the Vampire Count. And I honestly cannot tell you which way this one's going to go, guys. It's literally just this brawl in the middle here. I think if they manage to take out Thorgrim, they might have half chance if they can capitalise on the leadership debuff penalty. Unfortunately, for the Vampire Counts, Iron Drakes are now firing into this mass, which is not good because they pretty much can't miss. Oh, and has Thorgrim fallen? I think he just has. That is him. He is absolutely down. And with that, they might be able to just chain route all these guys. You can see the Runesmith is running terrified. He just needs to keep on those guys. These are shattered. Those over there are retreating, and there is pretty much nothing left. Just a couple of units of Ironbreakers and the Iron Drakes. Everything else will crumble in just a few moments here. So it's pretty much just if Krell and a handful of Cairn Wraiths and some Graveguard with great weapons and a Necromancer can clean this up. But the thing is, that is a pretty high health unit of Ironbreakers, and they can hold on for a phenomenal amount of time. And when they're being shot at by a Master Engineer and a load of Fire Iron Drakes, that's not good. That is definitely not good at all. Now, I can see that the Vargulf is actually going in on the Master Engineer. I personally would probably send him against the Iron Drakes and send something else against the Master Engineer, because the Iron Drakes, against all this, they can just do so much damage. Yes, he has armor-piercing damage, but these guys do fire, and against Undead, oh, look at that, the leadership penalty, the burning, it's just not good. They are taking so much damage, and that Vargulf, in just a single volley, there we go, he's refocused it, he's getting taken out. But now he's fighting against the Iron Drakes, he might be a little bit more cheerful. It's literally just this clump left. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of hovering between leaving and not leaving for the Dwarves, but honestly, I think if any of these units gets hit even once, they're going to probably turn tail and run before long. Oh, the unit of Cairn Wraiths has been taken out. Finally, we are just down to the Graveguard, Great Weapons, Krell, the Necromancer, and the Vargulf, and anything that the Necromancer can pull out of the ground. So this is starting to look a little bit more like it's in the Dwarves' favour, but at the balance of power, it's still saying that the Vampire counts have the advantage with just 39 bodies left on the field. And with 123 from the Dwarves, I'm really not sure if they're going to be able to pull this off. I mean, Krell's a fantastic fighter, don't get me wrong, but he's fighting against a bunch of Iron Drakes and he's going to be getting shot by all these guys. It's just it's a lot to ask from any unit. Especially with the Iron Drakes firing upon them. They have so much ammo left and it does so much damage to undead. It's really unstoppable. I see what it's trying to do, getting the Vargulf in to bring its leadership up, but look at that guy. He's just getting absolutely lit up and he's getting absolutely demoralised by being beaten up that much. He is rallying, but I'm just not sure it's going to be enough, especially with the Runesmith in range as he is. I mean, he's probably going to retreat in just a moment anyway, but those buffs are going to continue while he's in range, and the Iron Drakes are going to be incredibly tough for this Vargulf to take out. And still somehow firing. Those guys, they have committed to their craft. The Necromancer and Krell are still struggling to take out these Iron Breakers. It is what it is at this point. There's really not much to say. It is just an all-out brawl. This has been an insanely close and insanely great battle. I have no idea how I'm going to judge this. Damn you guys for giving me such a fantastic battle for the last one. But oh my god, what a conclusion. We've had some ups and downs battles in this series, but this has definitely been worth it. This is a fantastic battle. Oh, we can see that the Iron Drakes are actually running terrified. They haven't quite broken it. I think he's called it too early. I think that they were retreating. He really should have kept on top of them and kept them fighting. But they might come back and they might just be able to fire into him and take him out. The Master Engineer is still there firing into him. I mean, it's a lot of damage, but it's just one unit rather than a full unit of Iron Drakes, which are now coming back. We have another unit of Trollhammer Torpedoes over here that are now starting to fire. The Iron Breakers are now starting to run from terror, so they just need to punish everything that is left now. Just take a few more units out and he has a chance. Unfortunately, Necromancer does not like navigating these trees. He has terrible speed at the best of times, but navigating through trees, he's really struggling. Krell making a beeline for that Master Engineer, take him out as soon as he can. The Vargulf dashing straight into all this infantry over here, the Iron Drakes and the Iron Breakers. He's trying to get whittled down, but they just keep holding on. Dwarf leadership is insane. This is absolutely... I don't want to sound like one of those obnoxious YouTubers that said, guys, this is just crazy, but guys, this is crazy. This is amazing. Right, Krell is in. He has taken out the Master Engineer. That is it. Army losses. The Vampire counts take it. Holy shit, what a conclusion. I'm speechless. That was an incredible battle. It was back and forth. There was excellent plays on both players' parts. Superb micro. I have no idea how I'm going to judge this, but I just need to get into the stats because there's nothing else to say apart from wow. Thank both of the players. Thank both Small Gang and Wizard King. No matter who wins this, that was an excellent battle. You should both be very, very proud of that. So right, let's get into the stats. So starting off as usual with the Vampire counts, we can see that Manfred didn't get too many kills, but he was fighting Thorgrim for the majority of that battle, as well as a few other heroes. So getting 5 kills, they were just probably things that he was hitting with his tail while he was floundering around killing other things. So 27 kills on a Necromancer, that's actually quite impressive since those guys aren't really combat focused, they're more support units, so that's certainly nothing to be upset about. 16 for Krell, but again, he was doing a lot of dueling for the majority of that battle, apart from with the Iron Drakes at the end there. 0 for either of the zombie units, but the zombie units, what do you expect? They were literally just there to eat those Iron Drake and Flame Cannon shots. Skeleton Warriors, 16 kills between them. Certainly nothing incredible, but Skeleton Warriors, so I'd be quite pleased with 16 kills. A little bit disappointing to see nothing from the Crypticals, but they are very weak against armour, and the Dwarves are known for their incredibly robust armour, so it's no wonder that they struggled so much. The Cairn Wraiths did not too bad. 4 kills isn't amazing, but 30 kills is certainly an admirable performance, especially against a small unit size such as the Dwarves. I'm not sure what happened with the 4 units there. I think they must have been on the side that got really overwhelmed quite quickly. So it's a little bit of a shame, but certainly did plenty of damage. Now for the Graveguard with great weapons, 63 and 75 kills, that is insane value against the Dwarves. Small unit sizes like the Dwarves getting about 150-ish kills. That is phenomenal work. Should be so proud of themselves. Great job, guys. Got 2 ranks from that battle. Or they had them before. Excellent work either way. Now, the Hex Wraiths, as I said, the MVP of this battle, definitely for me. You know, I love a Flame Cannon. I love Iron Drakes. I love Iron Breakers. But those Hex Wraiths were used so well. That charge that took out a bunch of the range units, that's probably what won him the game. Because if those range units had so much health and were staying around and firing for the entire battle, he would have most likely lost that, but he took them out so excellently with 205 kills between them. Excellent work. Should be so proud of himself. The Direwolves, that is an incredible number of kills against heavily armoured units such as these guys. I think they're doing a lot of chasing units off the field, so 112 kills, phenomenal value there for a unit that is actually fairly cheap, so excellently done. The Crypt Horror is a little bit disappointing, but again, quite like Crypt Ghouls, they're not too incredible against armour, and when they're getting fired at by the Dwarves and Iron Drakes and Trollhammer Torpedoes, yeah, they're going to fall incredibly quickly. 78 kills for the Vargeist, including the 4 Gyrocopter Brimstone guns. That is an insane amount of value. They were doing a lot of chasing off as well, I believe, and getting into the backs of the enemy front lines. So excellent work there. And 50 kills finally from the Vargulf. Fantastic work. I love a Vargulf. They're a great unit that can serve you through the majority of your campaign, and in multiplayer, turns out they're actually pretty good as well. Now let's get into the Dwarves. Now, for Thorgrim Grudgebearer, quite like Manfred, he was focused on being, a duelist. Fighting Manfred, fighting Krell, just more being there to support and take out the enemy lords and heroes. So 17 kills, certainly good work there. And one of those kills was Manfred, so definitely good value right there. For the Runesmith, 6 kills. Runesmiths, they're not really meant to do much. They just kind of just sit there, cast the runes, don't really do much damage themselves, so I won't be complaining about 6 kills. For the Master Engineer, 29 kills. For a single shot unit such as him, get 29 kills, especially when you're shooting at some large things like Vargulfs and Vargeists and Crypt Horrors. That's certainly a plenty amount of value right there. Now, for the Ironbreakers, 133, 109, 274, and then 75 finally. So let's just add all that up. So 591 kills between your front line. That is incredible work. 500 kills. Yes, I know a lot of them were on the zombies and skeleton warriors, but that is pretty much all the infantry, well, a lot of the infantry that the vampire counts brought, so they took out so many units. Excellent work there. Unfortunately for the Quarrelers, they did tend to get bogged down, and firing through trees like that is not exactly their best use, so they didn't get too many kills, only 18 between them, but they did get charged, so you can't judge them too harshly. 48 kills for the Iron Drakes, as well as a bunch of value fighting that Vargulf and a bunch of other large targets. So certainly excellent value there. I would be very pleased with that. 29 kills between the 2 Thunderers. Of course, one of them did get charged. The other one was fighting, I believe, the Direwolves for quite a lot of the battle, so didn't get much chance to get some clear shots off. So 29 is not bad value at all. Fortunately for the Trollhammer Torpedoes, they were pretty much being focused by Manfred. Well, they were kind of caught in the clash of Manfred and Thorgrim for the entire battle. So that's very unfortunate for them, only 7 kills. But again, they are firing at large stuff, so they might have got a lot of value. I might have to go back and check that. Of course, we saw the Brimstone gun, 0 kills. I can kind of see what he was trying to do, kind of get a bit of poke damage out there at the start. But Brimstone Copters, they're just, if they get caught by anything, if there's anything faster than them, they're just useless, honestly. It feels really bad to say it, but they are. So I can see what he's trying to do, but unfortunately did not just pan out this time because he had something that could catch them. The Organ Guns got 10 kills, but again, they're probably firing at large things. At least that's what I use them for, because they have such high damage. You don't be wasting on infantry. Whereas the Flame Cannon, 223 kills, a bunch of which were on these 2 units of the Tithe. So, where you might not have got the most value firing at those, he did get a lot of value with a lot of the infantry. Add that to the Ironbreakers, and you've got 700 kills there, which is a crazy number of kills on infantry. So, as I said, excellently played by both Small Gang and Wizard King. No matter what the outcome of this is, you both should be very pleased, because I severely enjoyed this battle and it was insanely good. It was better than anything I could produce, I'll tell you that for free. So now finally, for the last time, let's get into the scores. Okay, now for the scores, starting off with the Vampire Count. For composition, we gave him a 14 out of 20. He had a great meat shield supported by some good high damage infantry. This meant that those weak units could walk up first, take a load of the shots, and let the high damage units get into combat relatively unscathed, so that was an excellent pick there. He had an excellent selection of mobile units. He had the Vargulf, the Vargeists, the Direpack, of course the beautiful Hex Race, which I'm going to come to in a moment. So yes, a bunch of mobile units which are an excellent pick for this sort of battle. Had a nice hero selection, though mana is a little bit expensive when you have a Necromancer. I personally would have maybe taken Vlad or just the generic Lord on a mount rather than mana if you also are going to bring a Necromancer, because the spells that Necromancer can cast, mana can cast the same ones, so it's not really worth it just to bring him for his combat prowess, since he's probably not as good as Vlad anyway. The Crypt Ghouls and Crypt Horrors also were a little bit of a I don't want to say misplay, that sounds too harsh, just they didn't really hold up in this sort of matchup, but to be fair, I didn't really know what it was going against. Crypt Horrors and Crypt Ghouls in particular just really don't hold up against anything that isn't chaff, since against armor they just do basically no damage. So it's a little bit of a shame that they weren't too good in this matchup. But yes, 14 out of 20, certainly nothing to be upset about there. For tactics, we gave him a 15.5 out of 20. I think we can all agree that Hex Wraith charge was beautiful, and it pretty much won him the game by taking out all of those ranged units. If he had not taken out all the dwarf ranged units and they'd been firing, got all of their ammo used for that entire battle, there is no way in hell that the Vampire Counts would have taken it, but they did because they did a fantastic charge and took out so many key units. It was beautiful. He also did a really great job of taking out their gyrocopters early on. He saw them coming, he'd sent the Vargeist after it, some nice quick units there, and he took them out very quickly. They got basically no value and were taken out in the first few minutes of the game, so that was excellently used. It's a little bit of a shame for the dwarf player, but it was just a fantastic response to what could have been a very scary opening attack. The die walls were hidden well and managed to do pretty good to get that many kills, to say that they're going against the Dowie. Using them to chase off retreating units or, finish off something that's really weak, it just shows that you have excellent knowledge of that unit and what it is capable of. Yes, it eventually did die, but they took a lot of dwarves with them, and for the value, they paid for themselves many times over, so I would not be upset about that whatsoever. Manny also did die a little bit soon. That was one of the downsides of this strategy. He went in, and I see what you're trying to do, focus down the Lord, and to be fair, he did do a lot of damage to the Lord, but he was just too singled out, and as I said, if you want someone that's going to be a straight fighter, yes, Manny is a good fighter, but I'd just send in Vlad, someone a little bit cheaper, just a generic Lord, just to keep him busy, and then take the Lord down via a lot of focus, rather than just sending, the most expensive Lord that the Vampire Counts have on offer. I think another thing that let the player down just a little bit was that he got confused with Terror and True Routing, so that some units had run away via Terror, and he seemed like he reacted to it like he thought they were actually routing, and he just left them alone and, went back to help somewhere else. And what this did was, units had run away, terrified, and then immediately come back and start shooting into his back, so then he'd have to pull the unit out and he'd just get more tired. If he just chased those units down, he probably would have been able to break them rather than letting them come back. So it was a little bit of a misplay, but as I said, 15.5 out of 20, that's pretty good. And finally, for Magic, we gave him a 14.5 out of 20. There was a nice missile spell used at the start, and the Wind of Death wasn't too bad either. There were good uses of abilities and buffs throughout, keeping that Necromancer topped up on Magic and keeping, some invocations of Nehek and some Vessel's Dance Macabre just to keep the units buffed. Excellently used there. One thing that did let him down was his breath abilities were a little bit, I don't want to say bad because that sounds really harsh, but when units are in trees like that, it's very clear that it's not going to hit them and not going to do a lot of damage. So I just really, wouldn't have bothered or waited till some units get a little bit more exposed out of the trees, see if you can find a cheeky angle. So they weren't used too incredibly, especially against the gyrocopter. I don't know what was going on there. It didn't really hit or do anything, so a little bit confusing. But finally, it would have been nice to see some summons as well. You can't help it if you didn't bring the spells, but summons are something that the Vampire Counts have access to, and not many other units do really have access to it. So if you have them, you may as well use them because it's just getting free units on the field for the cost of some magic, which you can kind of get infinite of anyway. But apart from that, very, very, very well done there. And that brings his total to 44 out of 60 with the 15 bonus points for winning. That means that Wizard King is going to have to score 59 if he wants to win. So we'll see if he manages to do that. So, moving on to the Dwarves led by Wizard King. For composition, we gave him a 16.5 out of 20. The Ironbreaker spam is very good, yes, but it's also very boring and very safe. If you take a bunch of Ironbreakers that they're going to do the job for you. So, it was a little bit disappointing to see not much creativity, especially this far into the tournament. But nevertheless, of course, they are a good unit, so you can't penalise someone too harshly for bringing just good units. The variety of range units was quite nice. You could have easily just spammed the same thing for range units, but he actually decided to bring a bunch of different kinds, bring some that have high range, bring some that have low range, armor-piercing damage, anti-large, ones that set enemy units on fire. It was a great variety, so we really admired that. It was also, bringing fun artillery. The Dwarves have an excellent roster of artillery, so of course you want to bring a couple of those. And the flame cannon, that's one that you never want to miss out on. It is an absolute beauty. I love that unit so much, and I'm so glad I got to see one in this tournament. Hero choices, very, very, very well done there. Bringing the Runesmith, super smart, very brave, as I said, in the battle to bring the Dwarves when we are judging you on magic. But he used them very well. The Master Engineer as well was used extremely well and did a lot of damage to some single-out targets. In fact, I think he was probably one of the biggest contributors that took out Manfred. So, yes, very well done there. And, of course, Thorgrim is always a fun choice. Now, for tactics, unfortunately, we did have to give him a 10.5 out of 20. We felt he was very defensive and quite slow to react. The Vampire Counts were surrounding him that whole battle, and he had vision of them, and yet they still managed to get around to charge into his backs, and he just kind of let them do it. he just kind of didn't really give them any support. He was very static, you know, just trying to defend so his range units can fight. And yes, that is what you want to do as the dwarves, but if someone attacks you in the back, you need to react to that. You need to do something about it. And yes, I know all of his infantry is engaged, but it's just, yeah, it just needed to do something to stop that, pretty much. But yes, as I said, it's focused on the front line way too much, and the back line it severely suffered from it. As well as that, I think starting in the trees was wise to slow down the large targets from the enemy units, but it did cause a lot of shots to hit the woods instead of the enemies. So if you're going to bring a ranged focus army, maybe you're just going to have to deal with the fact that the enemy unit's going to be fast, and you just need to get a clear shot of them. Because you can't have both of those, because you either have units that come to you quickly and you need to shoot them, or you have units that come to you slowly and you can't shoot them. And personally, I'd rather be able to kill the enemy units than, you know, have the entire army get hit in one piece, but slower. But hey, that's just my 2 cents. And finally for magic, of course it's a bit of a weird one because it's the dwarves, but in this tournament I'm kind of classifying magic as, you know, spells and abilities. I probably should have said that at the start, but, you know, it's good. But yes, he used the runes very well. They were being used pretty much constantly whenever they were on cooldown. It pretty much looked like they were being used, and he was always near units, so it was always affecting something when he was casting them. It wasn't just casting them in the middle of nowhere, stood by himself. And no, he was actually using them very well. They were, however, spent far too much on the front line. Again, this player focused so much on the front line, and it would have been nice to see some of those runes go into the back line, you know, make those units that are being attacked a little bit tougher, make them last longer, maybe enough time to get some, you know, actual support units over there. But yeah, there's not really much else to say. He used them a lot, so you want to score him highly for that, but he needed to target them just a little bit better to get it to that max score that we can give. But yes, that brings his total to 42 out of 60, which is an admirable score. That is a really, really great score. Super high for this tournament. So yes, that does mean that Small Gang has taken it. He is the king of the noobs. He should expect to see a Discord roll coming very soon to him. And he is getting the Vampire Coast DLC. That one's on me. And you know, because I'm a generous tournament hoster, Wizard King will also be getting his DLC of choice, which is the Tomb Kings. So when we get to the final, you're pretty much guaranteed a DLC. It's just who gets the title King of the Noobs. But yes, that concludes this episode, and that concludes, in fact, this entire series of the Noobs to the Noob God tournaments. I hope you've enjoyed as much as I have. It's been a real interesting journey to, you know, do some multiplayer battles and do some active tournaments with the community. I've really enjoyed it. If you want to do stuff like this again, then be sure to like the video, and if you want to see when I'm doing stuff like this again, then be sure to subscribe. That really helped me out. But you know, 12,000 subscribers, that's not bad. But I'd like a few more. A few people that aren't subscribed, you could do that for me. That'd really make my day. That'd really make my week. But yes, back to regular content fairly soon. Just a quick little PSA here for you. I have, in fact, found a job, a full-time job, which is Monday to Friday, you know, 9 till 5, what a way to make a living. It also means I have a lot less hours to commit to YouTube than I did before. But nevertheless, I'm going to try and keep up with the 2 videos a week. But if not, I'll drop it down to 1 and probably just alternate between, you know, the ones I was doing on Monday, which were the light-hearted ones, and then the more informational guides, which now coming on every Friday. But I'm going to try and keep up with it for now and see how I get on. The streams are still staying. If you want to check out those, there is a link in the description, or you can just head on over to dlive.tv/COLONELDAMNEDERS and give my channel a follow there. It's free to create an account. If you create an account by using my referral link, then I get a little bit of kickback for that, and I would appreciate that very much. It's completely free. They're not going to take your information. It literally just needs, you know, an email and a password. You don't even have to create an email for it. You can just use your regular Gmail that you use for a YouTube account. So it could not be simpler to start an account. Give me a follow and see when I go live. I'll be streaming the Chaos Warriors campaign tomorrow when this goes out. So I shall see you then. Look for me around 4 PM. I'll just head into the Discord, and I'm sure they'll let you know when I'm live. But yes, I believe that concludes everything, so thank you for watching this video so much. Just one more beg for you to like and subscribe to this video. I would appreciate it so much. If you didn't like it, then don't like, but also still subscribe, because, I mean, you watched the video. I think I deserve that much, don't I? So yes, for now, I have been COLONELDAMNEDERS, and I'll see you next turn.